The battle begins. Smoke filled the sky. The city was broken, metal towers falling one by one. Alien ships circled above, dropping fire on the streets. Human soldiers ran through the ruins, fighting to survive. Among them was a young soldier named Daniel. He was not a hero, not a commander, just a soldier holding a blaster and shaking hands. His heart raced, but he kept moving forward because stopping meant death. The aliens were tall, their armor shining like silver stone. They carried spears of energy that burned through walls. No shield could stand against them. No weapon seemed strong enough. The humans were losing, step by step, street by street. Daniel hid behind a broken wall. His ears rang from the blast of a fallen tower. He looked around, searching for his squad, but they were gone. He was alone. The roar of alien voices came closer, echoing through the ruins. Then, through the smoke, he saw her. A girl, standing in the open, eyes wide with fear. She was not in uniform, not a soldier, only a stranger. Her clothes were torn, her face covered with dust. She looked too young to be here, too fragile to survive. An alien warrior stepped out from the shadows. Its spear glowed bright, humming with deadly power. It raised the weapon, aiming straight at the girl. She froze, unable to move, trapped by fear. Daniel's mind went blank. He could have run. He could have saved himself. But something inside him refused. His legs moved before his thoughts did. He threw himself forward, shouting, his blaster falling from his hands. The spear struck. The sharp energy burned through his armor, tearing across his chest. Pain exploded in his body. He gasped, his knees hitting the ground. The world blurred, but he stayed in front of the girl, protecting her with his own body. The alien pulled back, confused. Why would a weak human shield another? It tilted its head, growled, then raised the spear again, ready to strike once more. But something changed. The girl's eyes flashed with strange light. She touched Daniel's shoulder, and a wave of warmth spread through him. The pain eased for a moment, the bleeding slowed. Daniel blinked, confused. This was no ordinary girl. The alien hissed, stepping closer. The girl pulled Daniel back, dragging him with surprising strength. A hidden knife appeared in her hand, glowing blue. She slashed at the alien's leg, the blade cutting through its armor. The creature roared in pain, stumbling back. Daniel, half conscious, tried to rise. His body was weak, but his mind was burning with questions. Who was she? How could she fight like that? And why would she try to save him? The girl leaned close, whispering quickly, "Stay with me, soldier. I will not let you die." Her voice was steady, stronger than her appearance. She pulled him behind another wall, hiding them from the alien patrol. Daniel's vision darkened, but he held onto her words. The battle outside raged on. Explosions shook the earth. Screams echoed through the streets. But in this small corner of the war, a choice had been made. One man had taken a spear for a stranger, and that stranger was not who she seemed to be. Daniel's blood stained the ground. His breaths came sharp and heavy. But even as darkness pulled him down, he felt something new, a spark, a strange bond with the girl he had chosen to protect. The alien voices grew louder, searching for them. The girl looked down at Daniel, her eyes filled with fire. "You saved me," she whispered, almost to herself, "but you don't know who I really am." The night grew darker, the city burned hotter, and Daniel's fate was now tied to a secret that could change everything. The mystery woman. The ruins were quiet now, but it was the kind of quiet that made the air heavy. Daniel lay against the broken stone, his chest burning where the spear had struck. He thought he was dying, but her hand was still on him, glowing faintly. Warmth spread through his body, not enough to heal him fully, but enough to keep him alive. The girl's face was calm, too calm for someone who had just been attacked. Her eyes were sharp, scanning the shadows, listening for the sound of alien boots. She moved like a soldier, but she wore no armor, carried no blaster. Her knife, still glowing, hummed with energy Daniel had never seen before. "Can you walk?" she asked. her voice low and steady. Daniel coughed, the taste of blood in his mouth. I don't know, he whispered. Her hand tightened on his arm, stronger than he expected. You have to, she said. If they find us, you will not survive. He tried to stand, his legs shaking, and somehow he did. She guided him through the wreckage, pulling him when he stumbled. Every step felt like fire in his chest, but her touch gave him strength. It was strange. He did not even know her name, yet she carried him like a comrade. They moved into a tunnel beneath the broken streets. The walls dripped with water, the air heavy with dust. Daniel leaned on her shoulder, wondering how someone so small could hold him up. The tunnel twisted, dark and endless, but she moved with purpose, as if she had walked it before. Who are you? Daniel asked finally, his voice weak. She did not answer at first, only kept walking. When she spoke, her words were careful, like she was choosing them one by one. Someone who should not be here, she said. That is all you need to know. Her answer gave him no peace. He stared at her profile in the dim light. Her eyes glowed faintly, just for a second, and then faded. No human eyes had ever done that. Daniel's heart tightened, questions spinning in his mind. They reached a hidden chamber, lit by strange blue crystals fixed in the walls. The glow washed over her face, making her look almost otherworldly. She sat him down gently, then pulled a small device from her belt. It opened like a flower, and tiny streams of light hovered above it. She pressed it against his wound, and warmth surged again. The bleeding slowed, his breath came easier. Daniel's eyes widened. That's not human tech, he whispered. She looked at him, her lips pressed in a thin line. You saw nothing, she said quietly. You must forget it. But he couldn't forget, not when it was saving his life. For a long moment, they sat in silence. Daniel studied her. The way she kept her back to the tunnel, always ready, always listening. She was not just a survivor, not just a frightened girl. She was trained, disciplined, and carrying secrets far too large for one person. Finally, he asked again, why did you save me? This time, she turned to him, and for the first time her expression softened. You stood in front of a spear for me, she said, her voice almost a whisper. No soldier does that for a stranger. Her eyes held his, bright with something he could not name. You risked your life, and now I cannot leave you behind. Her words hung in the chamber, heavy and mysterious. Daniel felt something stir inside him, something more than pain, more than duty. It was a connection, strange and sudden, forged in the middle of war. But before he could speak, the sound of alien voices echoed through the tunnels. Heavy boots pounded against the stone, their guttural language sharp and cruel. The girl rose to her feet, knife in hand, eyes blazing. They are close, she said, and they will not stop until they find me. Daniel's pulse quickened. Why? Why are they after you? He asked. She looked down at him, her silence louder than any answer. Her jaw tightened, and he knew. She was hiding something huge, the kind of secret that could cost both of them their lives. She stepped toward the tunnel, standing tall, her figure outlined by the glow of the crystals. For a second, she looked nothing like a girl, nothing like a refugee. She looked like a leader, like someone born to command. And Daniel, weak and bleeding, felt a chill, because he realized he had stepped into something far greater than a battle for one ruined city. The mystery around her grew, wrapping tighter, and Daniel, though he barely knew her, could feel the weight of it pressing down. He had saved her life, but now it seemed his own life would never be the same. Escape through the ruins. The tunnel shook with distant blasts. Dust fell from the ceiling. The sound of alien boots grew louder. Daniel forced himself to stand, his chest still aching. The girl's hand was on his arm, steady and unshaken. We cannot stay here, she said, her voice sharp like steel. If they trap us in the tunnels, we are finished. They moved quickly, deeper into the shadows. The glow of the blue crystals faded, leaving only darkness. The girl seemed to know the path. turning corners without hesitation. Daniel followed, his breaths heavy, his legs weak. Every sound echoed. Every step threatened to give them away. Behind them, the aliens searched like hunters. Their voices carried through the stone, cruel and mocking. One shouted something in its harsh tongue, and the others laughed. Daniel did not understand the words, but the tone was clear. They enjoyed the hunt. At last, the tunnel opened into the ruins of an underground station. Shattered tracks cut through the earth. Metal beams bent like bones. Rusting machines lay half-buried in rubble. It looked like the skeleton of a world long gone. The girl stopped, scanning the shadows. Her eyes glowed faintly for just a second, searching in a way no human could. She pointed to a broken stairwell, leading up toward the surface. "Up there," she whispered, "but we must move fast." Daniel swallowed hard, his body trembling. "How can you see?" he asked, struggling to catch his breath. She looked at him, her face unreadable. "I see more than you," she said simply. It was not an answer, but it was all she gave. They climbed the stairwell, broken stone crumbling under their feet. Daniel almost slipped, his strength fading. But she pulled him up with surprising power. Her small frame carried more strength than his own. It was as if something inside her burned brighter than normal flesh. Above them, faint light filtered through cracks in the ruined surface. The world outside waited, but danger waited with it. They pushed aside fallen beams and broken steel until at last they emerged. The city stretched before them, blackened by fire. Alien ships hung in the sky like vultures, their searchlights cutting through the smoke. The girl crouched low, pulling Daniel down beside her. She studied the sky, then the streets, her eyes moving fast. "There's a safe path," she said quietly, "but we must trust each other." Daniel looked at her, unsure. He had already taken a spear for her, already bled for her, and yet she still held back, still wrapped herself in secrets. But he nodded because there was no other choice. They slipped through the ruins, moving between shadows. Every corner was alive with danger. Alien patrols, drones scanning with red beams. Daniel's heart hammered in his chest. One wrong step, one wrong sound, it would all end. At one point, a drone passed so close Daniel could feel the heat of its scanner on his skin. He froze, not even breathing. The girl pressed a hand against his chest, holding him still. Her eyes glowed faintly again, and the drone drifted past as if blind. Daniel stared at her in shock. What did you just do?" he whispered. She shook her head, pulling him onward. "Do not ask," she said, "just move." They crossed into the shell of an old library. The shelves were blackened, books turned to ash. But in the center stood a strange device, half buried in rubble. It pulsed faintly with blue light, almost alive. Daniel stopped, staring. "That's alien tech," he whispered. She glanced at it once, then pulled him away. "It is not safe to touch," she said. "Some things are better left sleeping." They pressed on, weaving through ruins, the sounds of war always near. But as they moved, Daniel began to see something in her face. Not just fear, not just strength, but sorrow. Like she carried the weight of more than her own survival. Like every step was tied to something far larger than him, or even this city. At last, they reached a high wall of stone and steel. The girl placed her hand on it, and the surface rippled with light. Et d'une door slid open, revealing a narrow passage. Daniel stared in disbelief. You had this planned?" he asked. She gave a small smile, the first he had ever seen on her face. "I always plan," she said. "It is how I have lived this long." They stepped inside, and the door closed behind them. For the first time since the battle began, silence wrapped around them. Daniel leaned against the wall, his chest aching. "Tell me the truth," he said, his voice low, almost pleading. "Who are you really?" The girl looked at him, her eyes glowing softly in the dark. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she whispered, "I am someone the aliens fear." Her voice carried a weight that sent a chill down Daniel's spine. She turned away, walking deeper into the hidden passage. And if you stay with me, soldier, you will know why. Whispers of royal blood. The hidden passage stretched on, long and silent. The walls were smooth metal, glowing faintly with symbols Daniel could not read. They looked old, older than the war, older than the city above. Each step echoed like a drum, reminding him he was walking into something far greater than himself. The girl moved ahead of him, her steps light, her hand brushing across the strange markings. She walked as if she knew them, as if she had touched these walls before. Daniel frowned, confusion heavy in his mind. How could she know such things? "Where are we?" he asked, his voice low. She did not turn, only whispered, "A place forgotten by men, but not by me." Her words sent a chill down his spine. It was like walking beside a ghost who carried secrets in every breath. At last, the tunnel opened into a wide chamber. Massive pillars reached up into the dark. The ceiling was lost in shadows, but faint light shimmered from glowing crystals. In the center stood a stone platform, carved with the same strange symbols. Daniel stared, his breath caught. It felt less like a shelter and more like a throne room buried beneath the earth. The girl walked to the platform, resting her hand on it. Her eyes closed, and the symbols lit up with a soft golden light. Daniel's jaw tightened. This was no trick of chance. The chamber had answered to her, not to him, not to anyone else. He stepped closer, his voice trembling. "You know this place." She opened her eyes slowly, the glow still in them. "Yes," she said, "because it knows me." Daniel felt the weight of her words press down on him. He wanted to ask more, to demand answers. But before he could, the sound of voices drifted from a far tunnel. Not human voices, alien ones, harsh and cold. The girl stiffened, her hand tightening on the edge of the platform. Daniel pressed himself against a pillar, heart pounding. The voices grew clearer, the aliens speaking in their guttural tongue. One word echoed again and again. Even without understanding, Daniel caught it. "Princess." The aliens were searching, their hunt no longer random. They wanted her, not just any human. Daniel's blood ran cold. The word hung in his mind, heavy as stone. He looked at the girl, suspicion burning in his chest. "Princess," he whispered sharply. "They're calling you Princess." Her jaw clenched, but she said nothing. Her silence was louder than a confession. Daniel felt anger rising. "You let me bleed for you. You let me risk everything, and you are hiding this." His voice was harsh, but his heart was filled with confusion more than rage. The girl turned, her eyes fierce. "You would not understand," she whispered. Her voice carried sorrow, not pride. "This name brings only death, not honor." Before Daniel could press her further, the aliens stepped into the chamber. Tall, armored, their spears glowing with deadly light. Their leader barked orders, his voice echoing through the pillars. Again, Daniel heard the word, sharp and cruel. "Princess." The girl's eyes blazed. She gripped her glowing knife, her stance strong. Daniel raised his blaster, though his arms trembled. Together, they stood side by side, shadows against the glowing chamber. The alien leader pointed his spear at her. "Return to us," he growled in broken human speech. "You cannot hide forever, princess." Daniel's breath caught. He had not expected to hear it so clear. He turned to the girl, but her gaze never left the enemy. Her silence was her answer. The chamber itself seemed to respond. The symbols on the pillars glowed brighter, casting golden light. The air vibrated with energy. The aliens shifted uneasily, growling low. For the first time, Daniel saw fear in their eyes. Not fear of him, not fear of human weapons, fear of her. The girl raised her chin, her voice steady. "You call me princess," she said, her words sharp, "but you will never own me again." Daniel's chest tightened. It was not a full truth, not a full reveal, but it was enough to tell him this was no ordinary girl. She carried power, blood, and history that could shake entire worlds. The aliens roared and charged. Daniel pulled the trigger, his blaster flashing. The girl leapt forward, her knife slicing with impossible speed. The chamber lit up with fire and steel. And in that storm, Daniel understood. The war around him was no longer just about humans versus aliens. It was about her, about the secret she carried in her blood. A secret the galaxy would kill to possess. Betrayal in the shadows. The battle in the hidden chamber was fierce. Aliens fell one by one, cut down by blaster fire and the girl's glowing blade. Daniel fought with all his strength, his chest burning from the wound that never fully healed. Still, he refused to fall, because if he did, she would be left alone. At last, silence returned. The chamber floor was littered with broken armor and scorched stone. The girl stood tall, her knife still glowing faintly, her breath steady. Daniel leaned against a pillar, gasping, his body trembling but alive. Before he could speak, a voice called from the tunnel. A human voice, rough and familiar. "Daniel, is that you?" Daniel's head snapped up. From the shadows stepped Corporal Reeves, a soldier from his own unit. His uniform was torn, his helmet cracked, but his blaster was steady in his hands. Relief flooded Daniel's chest. "Reeves," he breathed. "I thought you were dead." Reeves gave a grim smile, his eyes flicking to the girl. "Not dead, just smarter than most," he said. "I kept to the shadows, waited for my chance." Daniel pushed himself off the pillar. "You won't believe this," he said quickly. She saved me. She's not." But before he could finish, Reeves raised his blaster. Not at Daniel, but at the girl. His smile sharpened into something cold. "Oh, I believe it, Daniel. I've been looking for her." The words cut deeper than any wound. Daniel froze, his mind spinning. "You're working with him?" he whispered, disbelief heavy in his voice. Reeves chuckled, a sound full of bitterness. "Working with them? No, Daniel, I'm smarter than that. I'm working for me." The girl's eyes narrowed, her blade still glowing in her hand. "You will not take me," she said softly. Reeves tilted his head, his grin cruel. "Oh, I will, princess," he spat the word like poison. "The aliens pay gold for you. The rebels pay even more, and I plan to collect it all." Daniel's stomach dropped. The word again, princess. It echoed in his ears, a confirmation of everything he had feared. But there was no time to think, no time to question, because Reeves' finger tightened on the trigger. "Reeves, don't do this!" Daniel shouted. "She's not what you think. She's more than that." Reeves sneered. "She's a prize, Daniel, not a person. And if you were smart, you'd help me deliver her." The girl stepped forward, her gaze like fire. "You would sell your own kind?" she asked, her voice sharp. Reeves shrugged. "I would sell my soul if it kept me alive and rich." In that moment, Daniel saw the truth. Reeves was not just greedy, he was broken. A soldier who had lost too much, seen too much. And in his hunger to survive, he had become something worse than the aliens they fought. Daniel raised his blaster, though his arm shook with pain. "You'll have to shoot me first," he said. His voice was quiet but steady. Reeves laughed, shaking his head. "Always the noble fool, Daniel, but nobility won't buy you food, won't save your skin." The air grew tense, the silence sharp as a blade. Daniel's finger hovered near the trigger, Reeves' blaster already aimed. The girl stood between them, glowing knife in hand, her eyes fierce. In that moment, the chamber felt like the center of the universe. One choice, one betrayal, one heartbeat away from blood. Reeves' smile faded, replaced with anger. "You'll regret this," he hissed. And then the shot rang out. The blast missed Daniel by inches, scorching the pillar behind him. Daniel fired back, his shot striking Reeves' shoulder. Reeves cried out, stumbling, but he did not fall. Instead, he vanished into the shadows of the tunnel, his laughter echoing behind him. "This isn't over," his voice called, fading into the dark. "I'll find her again, and next time, you won't be there to stop me." Silence returned, broken only by Daniel's ragged breathing. He lowered his blaster slowly, his hands shaking. The girl stepped closer, her face calm, but her eyes shadowed with sorrow. You see now, she whispered. Humans can be as dangerous as aliens. Daniel swallowed hard, his chest heavy. Reeves' betrayal cut deeper than any alien spear. If his own kind would sell her out, then no place was safe. No ally could be trusted. The girl turned to the glowing platform, her knife dimming. Come, she said quietly. We cannot stay. Not when shadows follow, even among your people. Daniel nodded slowly, though doubt weighed on him. For the first time, he wondered not only who she truly was, but what price the galaxy would pay to claim her. The hidden princess. The chamber grew quiet again. The echoes of Reeves' betrayal still hung in the air. Daniel sat against a stone pillar, his chest heavy, his thoughts spinning. Princess, the word kept striking him, sharp and impossible. He looked at her, the girl who had saved him, fought beside him, carried secrets in her silence. Now he needed answers, not half-truths, not shadows. Tell me, he said, his voice rough. No more hiding, no more riddles. Who are you really? The girl stood before the glowing platform, her back straight, her hand resting on the strange symbols. For a moment, she did not speak, only closed her eyes. Then, with a slow breath, she whispered, I'm not only who you think I am. The platform pulsed beneath her touch. Light spread across the chamber, symbols glowing brighter. The air shimmered, and a projection appeared above the stone. A vast image of stars, worlds, fleets of ships made of silver and fire. Daniel gasped, his heart pounding. What is this? The girl turned to him, her eyes glowing with the same golden light. This is my bloodline, she said softly. My people ruled among the stars, long before your Earth knew war in the sky. The projection shifted, showing a great throne of light. Upon it sat a tall woman with the same glowing eyes, her crown like fire. Around her, warriors bowed, their armor shining. She was my mother, the girl said, her voice steady though her face was shadowed with pain. The last queen of the Illyrian blood. Daniel stared, his mouth dry. You're not human, he whispered. She shook her head slowly. I am both, she said. My mother was Illyrian, my father, human. Her gaze fell, heavy with sorrow. They called me the bridge between two worlds, but to me, it was only a curse. The projection changed again, showing flames, betrayal, war. The queen struck down, her crown falling, fleets burning across the stars. The girl's voice hardened. They killed my family, my people scattered, and I was hidden on Earth, a child no one should have found. Daniel felt the truth sink deep into him. The aliens had not hunted her by chance. They hunted her because she was the last heir of a broken empire, the last key to uniting human and alien blood. The word echoed again in his mind. Princess. She stepped closer, the light fading behind her. I do not want you to know, she said softly. Every life I touch is marked. Every ally becomes a target. And now you are one too. Daniel rose to his feet, though his body trembled. You think I care? He said, his voice sharp. I took that spear for you before I even knew your name. Do you think I would leave you now? For the first time, her eyes softened, truly softened. Something fragile broke through the steel in her face. You should, she whispered, but you will not. Her voice carried both sadness and something unspoken, something close to hope. Before Daniel could answer, the chamber trembled. The projection shattered, the light fading. The ground cracked beneath them, rubble falling from above. She grabbed his arm, pulling him back. They found us again, she said, her tone sharp. This place is not safe anymore. As they ran through the crumbling passage, Daniel's mind burned with her words. A princess in hiding, a bloodline of stars, a bridge between worlds. He had wanted answers, and now he had them. But with the truth came danger greater than he had ever known. They burst into another chamber, smaller, but filled with strange machines. The walls hummed with power, as if alive. She placed her hand on one of the machines, and it lit up at once. Symbols raced across the walls, the room answering her touch. Daniel stared in awe. This place, it obeys you. She nodded, her face grim. It was built for my blood. Only my kind can command it. Daniel swallowed. So it's true, you really are. She finished the words for him, her voice quiet. The hidden princess of the Illyrian bloodline. The room glowed brighter, almost alive. And Daniel knew then that he was standing beside not just a girl, not just a fighter, but the last heir of a fallen empire. A secret the galaxy would kill to control. And he, a simple soldier, had tied his fate to hers. The final stand. The machines in the chamber roared to life. Light raced across the walls, humming like thunder. The ground shook as if the city above was waking. Daniel shielded his eyes, staring at the girl, the princess who stood at the center. Her glowing eyes reflected the storm of power. She looked less like a fugitive now, and more like the ruler she was born to be. Above them, explosions rattled the stone. Alien ships circled, closing in on their position. The air filled with the shriek of engines and the howl of alien war horns. They were coming, and this time they brought an army. Daniel tightened his grip on his blaster. He was just one soldier, wounded and tired, but he had chosen his side. If this was the last stand, he would make it count. The hidden doors burst open. Dozens of alien warriors stormed in, their spears blazing with energy. The chamber lit up with fire and shadows. The girl raised her blade, her voice sharp as lightning. "Stand with me, Daniel," she called, and he answered without hesitation. "Always." They fought as one, Daniel's blaster fire cutting down enemies, her glowing knife carving arcs of light. Together, they moved like a storm. But the enemy was endless. For every alien that fell, two more pushed forward. The chamber shook under the weight of battle. Then the alien commander appeared. Tall, armored in black steel, its spear twice the size of a man. Its voice boomed, echoing through the walls. "Princess of the fallen throne, surrender, and your death will be quick." The girl's eyes blazed. "I do not bow to thieves," she shouted. The commander roared, charging with thunderous steps. Their blades clashed, sparks flying. The chamber trembled with each strike. Daniel fired at its side, but the armor was too strong. The commander swung, throwing Daniel across the floor. Pain exploded through his body, but he forced himself up. He could not stop, not now. The battle raged on. The girl's strength was great, but even she faltered. The commander's spear struck, grazing her arm. Blood, bright and silver, spilled across the stone. Daniel froze, staring. Her blood was not human. It glowed like starlight, proof of everything she had said. The aliens cheered, their voices cruel. "Royal blood," they cried. "She bleeds. She is ours." The sound filled the chamber like a storm. But Daniel's rage burned hotter. He staggered to his feet, his blaster empty. So he grabbed a fallen spear, its weight heavy but alive in his hands. The commander raised its weapon high, ready to strike her down. Daniel roared, charging forward. He thrust the spear with all his strength. The blade pierced the commander's chest. Light exploded, the alien roaring in fury as its armor cracked. It stumbled back, collapsing with a thunderous crash. Silence followed, broken only by Daniel's heavy breathing. He dropped the spear, falling to one knee. The girl stared at him, her eyes wide. "You should be dead," she whispered. "No human can wield their weapon." Daniel gave a weak smile. "Guess I didn't know that," he said. The chamber glowed brighter, the machines responding again. Symbols flared with golden fire. The girl looked around, realization in her eyes. "It chose you," she breathed. "The weapon, the chamber, they answered you." Daniel blinked, confused. "I don't understand." She stepped closer, her voice soft but filled with awe. "You're not just my protector, Daniel. You are part of this." Before he could speak, the ground shook violently. The ceiling cracked, light spilling from above. Alien ships blasted the ruins, their weapons tearing through stone. The chamber began to collapse. The girl grabbed his arm, pulling him toward a hidden exit. But Daniel hesitated, Looking back at the fallen commander, its body pulsed faintly, as if not truly dead, and from its chest, a beacon of red light shot into the sky. A signal calling more. The girl's face turned pale. "They know where I am now," she whispered. "The galaxy will come." Daniel's heart pounded. They had survived betrayal, survived the hunt, survived the commander. But this was only the beginning. The war was no longer about soldiers and cities. It was about her blood, her throne, and the power hidden in both of them. As the chamber collapsed around them, Daniel and the princess ran into the darkness. Together, against a galaxy that would not stop hunting them. Their final stand was yet to come.